Hello and welcome to randomly reviewing Race the Sun. Race the Sun is a single-player only endless running game developed and published by Flipfly and was crowdfunded on Kickstarter with a goal of $20,000 It has been released on Windows, Linux, Mac, PlayStation 3 and 4, PlayStation Vita, iOS and most recently Wii U on October 8th, 2015. If we look at the options menu, we will notice acceptable sound options with separate sliders for the in-game music and the in-game sound effects. The graphics quality options is not very descriptive. For example, it's hard to know what's the difference between fantastic and beautiful. Though it is nice to see rebindable keys and controller support. I personally prefer to play this with controller, but it is perfectly possible to play this game with the keyboard. Gameplay of Race the Sun is very simple, elegant and a very relaxing experience. There are 3 different modes in Race the Sun. There are the simple Race the Sun mode, the Labyrinth mode and the Apocalypse mode. The Race the Sun mode is the main game mode where you are a solar powered plane going towards the horizon as the sun is setting. When the sun sets, you die. You do this while avoiding obstacles, and the obstacles are going to cast a shadow, and as the sun sets, the shadows are going to get longer and longer. If you go into the shadow, you are slowly going to be moving slower and slower. You can avoid the sun setting by collecting a yellow power-up, which will make your ship go faster than the planet you are on is spinning, and thereby making the sun seemingly go up into the sky. There are also green power-ups, which is jump power-ups, and purple, which gives you a second life. Throughout the game, you will be collecting what are called tries. When 5 tries are collected, the score multiplier is going to go up by 1. The Race the Sun game mode is consisting of an infinite number of levels. Each level is a repeating pattern which repeats 3 times, I believe, and after each level there are going to come a bird down, giving you a good portion of tries and 1 power. There are also throughout the levels some level skipping portals which will make you skip to the bird, and user created portals where if you go into the portal you're going to go into a user created world. I will get back to this later because there is a lot of user created content for this game. The Apocalypse mode is very much like the Race the Sun mode, but it's a lot more chaotic and more difficult. Then lastly there's the Labyrinth mode, which I personally don't like, but I can definitely see the appeal, where you navigate a labyrinth while collecting light bulbs instead of tries with no power-ups. Throughout the game you're going to be presented with some challenges. These challenges are going to give you experience which can make you level up your ship. When you level up your ship, it can either introduce new items into the game like the level skipping portals which I mentioned before. It can give you permanent ship upgrades which you can choose in your ship customization page, such as you can hold and store more of the power-ups, or you get a larger radius in which you can collect tries or power-ups when you move through them. And lastly it can introduce some aesthetic ship customization, which is some stickers you can put on the wings of your ship. Each map is pseudo-randomly generated, and a new map is going to be generated every 24 hours. This is very nice because it gives some variance to the game, while you still get the time to learn a map and progress in the map. It uses the same parts in every map, so what I mean by that is that you may have a certain quote puzzle unquote, and it's going to piece together a lot of these puzzles to create a pattern which is going to be repeated multiple times, and it's these patterns which it makes a new one of every day. This is very nice because you don't have to relearn everything every 24 hours. The gameplay in Race the Sun is very addictive, since every time you die, it's not because you actually couldn't get further, it's just because you made some kind of stupid mistake, and you know you can do better in the next try, and you probably will, but you're going to make some new stupid mistake, and you're going to keep on playing. This means that this is both a game you can sit down and play for 2, 3, maybe 4 hours, and it's also a game which you can dab into for 5 or 10 minutes while you are procrastinating at work. Now, there is one DLC for this game called Sunrise, which is a much more calming experience, where they have removed the more stressful aspects of it, of the sun going down, and there are no power-ups. But I will say that it's a lot more beautiful, and I personally very much enjoy this because of its relaxing effect. The soundtrack for all of the game modes, including the DLC, is very nice, but it quickly gets repetitive, since there is little variance in the different tracks on the soundtrack. The music for the DLC is very matching, but the transition from the music in the DLC game, Sunrise, and the title music which you are presented with when you die, the transition going on there is not very nice, and it's not a very pleasant experience. It's a minor complaint, but I have it nonetheless. A strong point for the game is that there's a lot of community-created levels. These levels are created in a fairly good and relatively flexible level builder. These levels can be found both in the Steam Workshop, but also in the Race the Sun game, where you can find them through the portals which I mentioned before, and which you can see some of right here. What are my conclusions and thereby my recommendations for this particular title? Well, it is €10 on Steam, and if you're the kind of guy who are going to dabble into this for 5 minutes at a time, it might be a bit too expensive. But if you're like me and go in and play this for 3 hours straight, fairly frequently, then I would say it's well worth it. The DLC costs €2, and if you're looking for a relaxing experience, it is well worth the €2. If you're not looking for the relaxing experience, I see no reason to buy it. Any feedback on this episode, particularly my voice and the audio, would be much appreciated. This has been randomly reviewing Race the Sun, and I hope you will like this video and subscribe.